All right, all right. Good afternoon, good after morning, good evening, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hi, Paradigm Shifters. We are so grateful today and every day for our chance to shift and uplift the planet. How's that sound, Lori? Are
I
we in?
love it so much. I'm here for it.
Yes, yes, yes. And Paradigm Shifters is a community, global community, dedicated to shift and uplift the planet. And Transformation Tuesdays, I love it. We are now at, as of this morning, 1,100 members. Woof!
Whoop, whoop.
And from like well over 26 countries. And knowing that this whole idea of global vibration and freedom is so important. So, our July topic is freedom. Yeah. And I am so pleased and feel so blessed to introduce one of my buddies, friends, colleagues, Lori Hart. I mean, gosh, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, look, Lori.
There's two of us. There's Lori
Yeah,
Hart and Lori Harris.
Lori Harris. Yeah, Lori Harris just became transformational, right? Coach of
Yes.
the Year, Impact with Brave Thinking Institute for 2021 and our Coach Palooza event. And I was so, boy, tears were streaming down my face because I know, I know a little of your story and how uh, this legacy piece of freedom. And
Mhm.
so Lori is from Los Angeles, right?
Yes. Yes.
Your passion is freedom. And I love this quote that free yourself from physical and mental prison, free your mind, and the rest will follow,
Yes.
and stay free. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Lori, and we would just love to know a little bit about you and what that word means to you and how it's been generational, I think.
Mhm.
And yeah.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. I'm very honored and pleased to be here. I've known Judy for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. We met at a Dream Builder Live, which is the primary um, informational tool that our coach and teacher and mentor uses to get her message out. And I met Judy when I was dancing down on the at the front of the stage with Judy. And what I love about Judy is her energy, her commitment to authenticity and truth. She's the real deal. She's always Judy, and Judy is a beautiful spirit, and she comes forth giving all that she has, and in her own unique way. And in so doing, she frees other people to do the same. And so I will tell you a little bit about myself. I just celebrated my 60th birthday last Tuesday on July 6th. And I'm very excited about that because I've always been, I generally would be attracted to older people, and I would be the young person hanging out with all these older people. And I seem to have gone from being the baby to being the elder and nothing in between. But I love it. Judy has asked me to be here to talk about freedom and what that means to me and why it's important to me and why I do my work. So, I work as a life mastery consultant. I am full time in that work. I have been doing it full time for the last year. I started as a life mastery consultant um, initially in 2014 as a dream builder coach. I was introduced to the program by Mary Morrissey through my cousin. And before that, I worked as a criminal defense attorney. The reason why I have done that work, excuse me, and all of the work that I've ever done is dedicated to helping people really see themselves, to know themselves, to love themselves. And for some reason, I think I have a secret power that I'm able to see people and to understand that people are in pain. People may misbehave, but it isn't who they are. And I've always been able to separate people's behaviors from who they truly are. So I was made aware of this as a young child when my mom would say to me, Lori, why can't you get it together? What is wrong with you? And she would compare me to my dad. And so my dad was born a sharecropper in South Carolina. And he worked on a farm until he was about 5 years old when his entire family moved to Cincinnati. And it's a very different type of life. He went from living a rural life to living in a city. And the strata that at the time he didn't know that, I'm a sharecropper, I am poor and all that. He just loved working on the farm as a very young child. And then they go to the city, and my father's family suffered a series of traumas. His father was blinded in a bus accident and didn't receive any compensation when he was about 10. And then my grandmother, my father's mother, who was his best friend, died when he was 15. And my father was very close to his mother. And that left a mark on his heart for his entire life. I've always understood that there was a part of my father that had a particular sadness from losing his mother at a young age. So my dad walked the city of Cincinnati for 2 years, just walked aimlessly. Just he was the definition of bereft. And at some point, he was like, I'm still here. I have this life. I must do something with it. He took the GED and got himself into the military. And it changed the trajectory of his life and therefore changed the trajectory of mine. My family is very close. My father's family, he and his siblings are very close. So my uncle, we're talking about the power decision here. My uncle, the eldest, decided he would be the one responsible for taking care of my blind grandfather, which freed the rest of the siblings to go off and live their life. The youngest was Hattie. Hattie was 10 years old when her mother died. And she won a scholarship and did all kinds of things and became a lawyer. She is my role model. I saw her doing things, making a difference, talking and being listened to. And that had an impact on me. So going back to my mom, she says, why can't you get it together? Your father is in school, he's getting his degree, he's working full time, and he's top of his class. What is wrong with you? And at the time, even as a kid, I understood I'm busy growing up. That's what I'm doing. I'm a kid. And so that makes me different than my dad because I'm doing the job of growing up and being a responsible member of this family and being a responsible student. And while I might not be the top of my class, growing up is a job. And so somehow I understood that. And so I went on to really want to work with young people. I didn't get in a lot of trouble, but I was kind of the black sheep of my family, which if you look at my family and what I'm doing is nothing. But for what my mom and dad wanted for me, it was problematic and troublesome. And so I pushed the edges. I was always like, why? It's not fair. I was constantly like, why? Why is it's not fair? It's not fair. And they would tell me things and just do it because I say so. I was like, that's not going to work for me. That's not an answer. And I constantly pushed and challenged. And even as a very young child, there were things that were said to me. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't believe you. And that would be problematic in the household that I lived in. My father was fine with it, but my mom was like, no, you cannot be that way. You cannot think that way. You cannot say these things. I was like, but it's just true. I had this sense of what is true. And so one of the things that I knew to be true is that there is this one power, one presence, one life. It is everywhere present, expressing everywhere in all things. And it is in me. It is me. It operates as me. I knew this to be true about myself and about everyone. And so while I was raised in a very fundamentalist household that believed that you believe the way that we believe, and if you don't, you will go to hell, I questioned that at age 4 and 5. I was like, I don't think that's true. And my mom and dad, well, mostly my mom, she's like, what do you mean? Of course it's true. And it's like, no, you tell me that there's people in faraway lands that if they haven't gotten this message, they're going to go to hell, but God loves us all. I don't believe you. And I specifically would envision like Asian people for whatever reason. Just like God made us all, we're all different. We all have something to contribute. And so if that's true, then what they have to contribute is valuable too. And it's not wrong. It's just different. So I had this tendency toward something that I didn't quite understand. Later in 2013, at the same time I'm starting coaching with my mentor, I'm also being guided toward Thich Nhat Hanh and a Zen Buddhist practice and mindfulness, and just being really curious about my own thoughts and beliefs and how that is impacting me and the world. At the same time, I'm working as a defense attorney, but I'm no longer doing trial work for 20, 2006 to 2013. I'm working in the prison.
Wow.
Working with young people who have committed some major offense that sent them to state prison for kids, the most serious form of incarceration. I'm there at the same time that California is challenging itself and saying, is this who we want to be? Is this how we want to respond to criminal wrongdoing? And so while I was there, this very harsh place, the California Youth Authority, starts shutting down. They start closing centers over and over. And so the first time I went to visit a kid, I was struck by the fact that he shows up to visit with his lawyer and his hands are all bandaged and wrapped. And I said, well, what's going on? Why? And he says, oh, because whenever I leave my room, I have to be prepared to fight because I may be attacked on the way here. And so he's like, to come see his lawyer is to walk the gauntlet. And that's one of the factors that led to the destruction of the prison system as we knew it for kids. So they closed these centers down. And I was a part of that because I was the person that's letting the courts know this is what's going on. This is how these kids are living. So my job at the time was basically just to keep the kids alive, let them know that someone is there going to be checking on them. And so that reduced the suicide issues and reduced the exposure and violence for kids. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Is my mic okay? Okay. So I'm doing that and it felt really good. So then in 2013, I got transferred out back to trials.
Wow.
And I had changed. I went from being this trial animal to this more nurturing person who was really interested in behavior and how people come to make the decisions that they make and what does transformation look like for them. And so I was helping kids confront their own sense of remorse, sense of wrongdoing, sense of awareness of how did I come to be in this place, not just their own wrongdoing, but how had they been wronged that led them to be in this place of brokenness, to be in a place of addiction, to be in a place of pain. How did they get there? And so once I had done that work for such a long period of time, I wasn't really interested in doing trial work. At the same time, the very same weekend I'm supposed to go back to trials, I get introduced to my coach. And I sign up for Brave Thinking Masters for the first time. And I work with her for a while. And then eventually I decide to start coaching on my own. And so what I want to talk to you about is freedom starts from within us. It is a decision. It is a decision to be free. It has nothing to do with our physical location. It has nothing to do with whether or not we're in physical prison. or not. It's our decision to live our life as a free person. And whatever it is that holds you back, that keeps you from enjoying life in its fullest expression of you, then that is a prison. And so it took me a really long time to release my job. I held on to that job because it was what I knew to be my supply. And I was afraid to let it go. And so there's a teaching story, it's a Chinese teaching story that talks about monkeys. And there was a time when people wanted to capture monkeys. And what they would do is take a coconut and hollow the coconut out to the size of an open hand for a monkey. And they fill it up with rice. And so then they leave it out. And then the monkeys would sniff out the rice. And then they discover it and put their hand in and grab a fistful of rice. Now they cannot pull their hand out of that coconut unless they're willing to release the rice. Now there's food everywhere. There's other places to get food. But now they got this fistful of rice and they will not release it. And so that becomes their prison. That becomes their trap. They don't have to do anything to capture them with ironclad traps. They are captured because they will not release this fistful of rice. And so I looked at my life and I'm looking at my job as the only way that I can provide for myself. And it wasn't. It was not my supply. There is another way to live my life and to bring forth my gifts. And my gift is, I really love people. And I can help you to see yourself in a way that's more impactful and releases more of your own gifts so that you can show up in the world as a fully free individual, living through your own gifts. But we all have to open our hands for assistance, for something else to drop in, to have some other form of supply. Whatever it is that's imprisoning you, you're going to have to open your hand and release the thing that you're holding on to so tightly. So you release the lesser in order to have the greater. And so I know that you have gone through your own retirement and done other kinds of things in order to experience more freedom. We, as mothers, we have to release our idea of how we interact with our children in order to free them to discover another way of being within themselves, a place of wholeness, a place of knowingness, a place of knowing that they know, a place of knowing their inner knower can be trusted to guide them, that they don't need their mom, not for that. And I know that you've gone through that. So I became a lawyer. I've worked as a feminist women's health worker. I worked to help people resist the draft. I was a protester for the Free South Africa movement. Oh. And if you look at my work continuously, it's all about freedom. Freedom. All of it. Everything that I've ever done, it's all been for freedom. And a lot of the people that I really love in terms of teachers and workers are people that have been in prison.
Great, great. Yes.
Nelson Mandela.
Yes.
Malcolm X. And the thing is that these are all people who decided to live a life toward a greater sense of knowing, a greater sense of freedom. And Martin is my favorite. Yeah. Because he is always talking about vision. So we know him for two famous speeches. He talks about, I have a dream. And he describes his dream at the very beginning of the big launch of his career. He talks about his dream. He's doing this in 1963. I'm alive at that time. You know, I'm 2 years old. He's talking about his dream for his children. And so I want to remind everyone that these are real people. We are those people. This is not a concept. This is a charge. This is an obligation. This is something for us to pick up and decide to be these people. So he's talking about his dream. Now, we have heard politicians for umpteen years talk about their plans. Nobody cares. Nobody remembers. Nobody remembers anybody's 9-point plan or whatever. Nobody knows even know what their names are. But we still talking about Martin's dream. And then he talks, oh, I know it went out that time. Can you hear me now?
You're fine. You're fine.
Martin's his dream. And he describes it for all of us so that we can buy in to that vision. Okay. John Lewis bought into his dream and his vision. He continued to live a life of vision. People ask him, how did you stay committed? He goes, because I had a vision. So then Martin finishes his career in April 4th, 1968 in Tennessee. And he's talking about his vision. And he's still talking about it. He's still describing it. But now he's saying, I've seen it. I've been to the mountaintop. I've been there and I've seen the promised land. We won't get there together, but I know that it exists. And I leave you with this charge to be loving, to be freedom, to be someone who cares for each other. So people misunderstand Martin Luther King. He was a fighter. He was a scholar. He was a minister. He was brilliant. And if you read his writings, he's giving us a guide for it's going to be hard. It's going to be painful. People are going to disappoint you, but you're going to have to hold fast to the vision and you're going to have to do things that are difficult. And he takes it back to the prior teachers that we have. He talks about the Bible and the Good Samaritan. Why does the Good Samaritan matter? Because the Good Samaritan is on this rocky road and he's isolated and he comes upon a man who's in need. Now, if he helps this man, he's putting himself at risk. He stops. He goes to this man's aid and he's in this area that's deserted. Does he know he's a Samaritan? Does he know that this person is really injured? Or maybe it's a trick. Maybe when he stops, other gangsters will jump out of the rocks and come and attack him. But none of that matters because this man has decided who he's going to be and what he's going to stand for and how he wants to walk the earth. And so he takes this man and he gathers him up and he takes him into town and he tends to his wounds and he leaves him with enough provisions to take care of him with the innkeeper. And he says, and if this isn't enough, I will be back. I will pay you. This is what we're called upon to do, to care for each other when it's hard. And last year with Amy Cooper and Christian Cooper and with George Floyd,
yeah,
I was heartbroken. I was like, what am I doing with my life? I work in this criminal justice system, and what am I doing with my life if this is what's happening? At the same time, at the same moment, we have a police officer looking dead into a camera and murdering someone. And across the country, have a woman saying, there's an African-American man attacking me, and she's lying. And I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm out. That was my reaction. My reaction to seeing that was, this is not the place for me. The system wasn't, the criminal justice system for my work. And it's time to go. And all that I can do here. And so I put in my resignation And I had to have a peaceful transition. I couldn't just leave. But it took me about 6 months to get out. But that's true. As a result of seeing what was things like, there's another place.
Oh, Lori, I think that we're going in and out just in the last couple minutes. Let's see if you can come back in.
Can you hear me now?
There, you're back. You're back. So what I want to ask you is like rewind your mind about 1 minute, because I'm like on the edge of my seat. And if you could, if that's okay, rewind. And you were at the point where like you just couldn't do it anymore. Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Now we're
Can
good.
you hear me?
I can hear you. You're good now. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. I'm sorry about the sound issues.
It's good. This is awesome.
I'm gonna disconnect
my mic. We are free.
Can you hear me now?
That's great. That's even better. Yes.
Oh, I'm having trouble with my sound.
You're fine here. You're fine on this side. Yeah.
Okay.
There, you're fine. We're
okay,
good
great.
now. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sorry about the problems.
No. I just what I would. This is like a great spot to. Oh boy, I'm wiping the tears from my eyes. From my passion is those children in the prisons, and then making a decision, like, oh, wait a minute, where do I fit in to this puzzle, right? What can I do? And I love the fact that you said it's hard. and that's where the growth happens, and in the growth comes the freedom. And I want to also, I remember going in Washington D.C. and standing on that spot, the I Have a Dream spot, on purpose, and getting that energy from that spot and making a commitment to my life right there, putting a stake in the ground. So that's where you were in your story. And, go for it. We can definitely hear you. And, we'll go about another 5 minutes or so. And then I have another question to ask you. So keep going. This is awesome. Thank you.
All right. So I just want to say that I spent a lot of time with a warrior's kind of persona going into battle. Being a trial lawyer requires you to be a lawyer and to be a warrior. And even as I was doing it, I tried to do it from a place of love. One of my colleagues is in the room. I see her. I tried to do it from a place of love. I think everyone would agree that my approach to the trial work was different. And I see people. I believe in the fundamental goodness of all of us. I love people. And so that was where my power was. I could put together a jury of people who were from diverse backgrounds and just get them to see each other, get them to listen to one another, and get people from different backgrounds. Los Angeles is a huge community. You get a combination of people who appear to have never had a problem in their life, sitting with someone who their whole life is a problem, or so it feels for them, sitting in a room and being able to just tolerate one another. For me, the trial work was in jury selection and getting people to honor all 12 voices, getting them to promise to listen to everyone. And if someone's over there not talking, please bring them in. Bring them in. Make sure you find out what they have to say. And if there's someone over there who's being too bold and too bodacious and kind of taking over the room, do you promise to turn down the volume on that person? Do you promise? Do you promise not to be too timid to speak your truth? Do you promise? That was my work. And I really prided myself on this guy right here. This is my client. I love my client.
He's a good person. Let me tell you about what happened. Maybe it didn't happen the way that it's been portrayed to you by the prosecutor. Maybe it didn't happen that way, or maybe it didn't happen at all, or maybe this person wasn't a part of it. But let me tell you, I care about this person regardless of what it looks like he did or didn't do. I love him. And you might not like him, but like me, and you can trust me. And so that was my fight. I fought on the streets for the Free South Africa movement. I fought. But then I came to this work, and it's like, I can do the same impact, bigger circle, more people, bigger legacy. I can do that, and I can do it all with love. Oh, well, then I choose that. I choose helping people free their minds. In lockup, it's really hard to be locked up. I have never been locked up, but I've been in lockup with my clients. It is so hard. And we as a nation should be ashamed of how we're treating our brothers and sisters. And I've been in lockup with people. And so sometimes the work is just calming them down so we can get to the work. Mm. And I do meditations with my clients in lockup. I've done breathing exercises with my clients in lockup. And so as I'm changing, yes, there's this new softness to me. Right. And it doesn't always work for needing to be the warrior, because that's not where my head was at, truthfully.
So I would like to I love this. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how my heart is open wide. And what I would love to ask you, one question, how's that? Or take a deep breath here. We're into, there you go. And we as a community of paradigm shifters appreciate you taking your precious time out to tell us who you are and what you're doing and the legacy you're leaving and all the work you're doing. What I would love to ask you is, what is it that we can hold for you, Lori Harris? What would you love to have us hold for you?
Well, thank you. I love that question. But I build a community. I build a community of women who get together and love on each other, love their visions and dreams into existence, love their own visions into existence, and support their sisters in bringing their visions into existence. I wish to call my new community Sweet Charity Sister Circle. My maternal grandmother. And I envision seeing a community of women of color loving each other up, understanding the struggles that we go through that is unique to ours, and loving each other through that in a accessible way that brings in at least 1,000 people.
Oh, amen. Okay. Oh, we can do this, baby. Okay, here we go. We're going to send some energy your way, all the way to LA. Get ready to receive it. And, well, you just ask and you shall receive. I love that this is going out to so many people. Here you go. You good? Did you get it?
Thank you. I receive it. Thank you.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for this. I'm feel so blessed to be able to know you at such a deeper level, and definitely see that vision totally opening up the world. Thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you for having me. I'm really honored. Thank you.